that I made a shift because I think this show has always kind of centered our desire to be better people first individually. And so I've conceived this show out of the desire to share the things that I know and also challenge myself and those listening.
Yes,
Can we be better stewards of this thing
yes,
called life? Can we
yes.
contribute something positive? And I find myself awakening to a reality that I am not part of the majority. And so, and that's, I've
Yeah,
always kind of understood that I wasn't part of the majority,
right.
which is why we even had the global majority, because I need to remind us that while we may feel like we're in a world that just doesn't quite get it, the world is bigger than this tiny
Yes,
space, but the world is also infected. It's infected. And so are we providing a cure? Are we providing some disinfectant? Are we providing an antidote or antidote? Are we becoming the thing? Are we becoming the thing? So y'all know I watch a lot of TV, and we're gonna talk about Morning Joe, and we're gonna talk about John Bones, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about Mike Tyson. But none of this conversation that you and I are having today will be about any of those things. It's always gonna be about us. But I'm watching this TV show on CBS/Paramount Plus called The Lioness, and it stars Zoe Saldana. It is, the mind of Taylor Sheridan, who brought us Yellowstone and a bunch of other things. So it follows these operatives, like think Navy SEALs, but they're off the books and they're out doing things on behalf of the government, the deep
right,
state, and it's not quite legal. So in this particular season, they are going after this cartel in Mexico. But when they ride there, it's a warehouse full of children that they know are going to be sex trafficked. We're talking maybe a couple of hundred children in this
wow,
warehouse. They think they're going to bust for drugs. And the lioness is a somebody that they plant inside of. So last season it was a Middle Eastern family that the lioness was planted in to overthrow this government and whatever. This season they want to implant this young lady whose family is running this cartel,
oh wow,
and she's military and whatever, and they made sure she got dishonorably discharged so she could never go back. And so her job is to go and be a double agent inside her home, and she's struggling with this after seeing what she saw in the warehouse. So last year's lioness has been brought on to try to shepherd her into her role as a double agent. And so the young lady says the to the new lioness, she says to her, she said, how can I betray my family? Right. So she says, you're sending me in to betray my family. How do I do that? And so the other lady says to her, she said, I look at it like this: 5% of the people are saints. 5% of the people are saints. 5% are pure evil at their core, like they are here to cause chaos and evil. And 90% are sheep. They follow whoever has the upper hand. And I sat with that because I was like, she said, there is no winning. There's just the upper hand. You just want to make sure you get the upper hand. So I was thinking, so she says to her, so which is your father? Is your father a saint? And she says, no. She says, is your father a sheep? And she pauses because she said she knows the answer is no, my father's not a sheep. So the other 5% is what? So I asked this question of you, Dr. Black, as we are shepherding folk into, I think, or out of the wilderness, because I feel like we have been sucked into this bread and circus, TV, movies, sports. And we're going to talk about Beyonce and boxing and all. Like we're inundated with this cable news, which is another form of sports. It's not really news at all, or nor cable. And somehow we're supposed to find ourselves in the midst of in the center of this. Like, I'm very clear. I'm in the 5% of the sainthood. I'm going to claim it.
right,
I'm going to wear it.
right, right.
But as I was thinking through this with you coming on today, reading The Coming, 400 years of bondage. That's a lot of sheep.
That's a lot of sheep. That's a lot of sheep, and that's a lot of sheep who actually did the enslaving.
Correct.
Hmm.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And then ended up enslaved. So
that's
you
right.
helped, it's like, so I'm asking the people right now, are you the 5% of the saints? Because I think everybody might think you're a saint. Or are you a sheep? Because I'm going to think that some of y'all listening ain't evil, pure evil. I'm going to
Right,
imagine
right.
that 90% of y'all ain't pure evil. But I'm watching so many people jump on this bandwagon right now, doing this
Right.
stupid dance, to the
Right.
gay national anthem, YMCA,
Ridiculous.
as they score a touchdown. Black men in the UFC ring doing the dance and pointing, talking about, I'm an American Christian. Sylvester Stallone, people showing up, kissing the ring, Mika and Joe. And I'm like, you just talked dirty about this person. Did he change? Or did you change? Or are you just following whoever has the upper hand? Do you have no character and courage? Because again, 400 years of bondage happened because people hedged their bets and
Right.
thought it would never happen to them
That's
until
right.
they ended up on that last ship, maybe the Barracoon. You
That's
know,
right.
maybe you helped get so many people on thinking it would never be you, and then it was you.
It was you. Isn't that crazy? You, and then it ended up being you. And the thing that's so powerful about what you're saying, and I hadn't thought about this way, right? But the thing that's so powerful about what you're saying is, if a person is not conscious and intentional, if you're not, you're either the sheep or the evil. The only way to be a saint.
Well, I'm gonna offer you this because I think evil's conscious and intentional. So I think most people don't have the capacity to be pure evil because that requires a lot of planning and discipline that most of us don't have. There's a lot of planning and discipline. Somebody that
That's very true.
could very easily do. There's a lot of planning and discipline that goes into both sainthood and pure evil. Actually, there's a thin line. Actually, when we think about Lucifer being a light bearer and the most
Right.
favored among angels,
Angel.
to then tip over into becoming Satan, like there's a very thin line. There's a lot of work that goes into pure evil.
And remember, Satan also was first the angel.
That's my point. It's easier to tip
So
over
it's
from
the same
Satan into
person.
evil. Correct. So I'm saying, like, most people don't even know what is required to be pure evil. You know
Right.
what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. No,
So
that's true.
so to your point, but if we are 90% sheep, let me ask you how your sheepness shows up. Like, are you conscious of your sheephood? Like some could even say in this space that we're in right now, Dr. Black, oh, y'all are in a bubble. Yes, we are in a bubble, but the bubble has very clear intentions and bounds, and there's a requirement to be in this bubble that is beyond just following what we're saying. It's like, what is your responsibility to making this world better? And if that's a bubble, I'd rather be in this bubble than in that bubble, which is
And in fact,
apathy. Right.
and in fact, it is a bubble, but it has to be, and in fact, and it must be, because it's very much like it's very much like the way life starts. All life starts in a bubble. We call it a womb, and it's protected in that womb, right? It's protected in that bubble, literally, in order that the outside world won't mess it up. And then it gets strong enough, it is believed, that it can live in that outside world and maintain its own excellence.
Come on. Okay. I give this analogy, and I know I got it from somebody, of an egg and a baby bird. So all of the birds start out in an egg, right?
That's right.
And if you help the baby bird out of the egg, if it doesn't chip its way out of the egg, it does not have the neck muscle to go
That's
get
right.
worms.
That's right.
And it doesn't have the strength to fly and
That's
live
right.
on its own, right?
That's right.
So I'm like, a lot of parents are raising their children cracking their eggs and not allowing them to crack themselves out of whatever. And to your analogy, being in that placenta, being in that womb for those 9 months, baking till all of the parts are formed. Right. And shout out to all the preemies out there. Shout out to y'all, because y'all had a special battle to be here. But you're saying something right now. So
Absolutely.
what does that look like today for us in this time that we're in?
See, so many people are trying to run back into the womb. People want somebody else's protection around them. People want something else, right? Instead of garnering their own strength and their own power to fight. See, the first thing that people got to realize, even in terms of this election and all this, listen, a person has no strength of character at all if you never lose. You have got to lose sometime, because losing is part of the way you learn how to win. If a person wins all the time, there will be times when they lose and don't know it. Ooh.
Okay.
Gee.
866-801-8255. I also wanted to ask you this question because it got me thinking. Everybody, Dr. Carr said something, I think it was Saturday or the Saturday before. Everybody has these T-shirts on of people that they would never live up to. So you're wearing a Harriet Tubman T-shirt, but you don't have Harriet Tubman energy.
Right.
You would
Right.
never do what Harriet Tubman did. And I
Never.
thought about this. There was only like one Harriet Tubman, one Nat Turner, one Denmark Vesey, one John Brown. I'm sure there was some other operatives that names we don't know, but there were very few people over a 400-year period that said, outside of, what happened in Haiti,
Right.
IT, the
Right.
Hispaniola, which was the homie led
That's right.
generals,
That's
it was
right.
very organized. Again,
That's right.
very
And
few people.
Bodun assisted.
Come on, understand the ritual and all, like what we saw
Absolutely.
in New Zealand this
On.
weekend. They were able to tap into something because it was fresh in
That's
the
right.
1700s, right? How many people deep into enslavement said, yeah, you know what? Yeah. And then they all seemingly went solo. Like Harriet was like, yeah, I'm going back and I'm coming, I'm sure she had help, but
Right.
that Turner ain't have no help,
Listen, I'm telling you, Denmark Vesey, they didn't have no help. But see, the thing that was powerful, and I was teaching my class, this is so funny that you're bringing this up. The thing that assisted Harriet and Denmark and Frederick Douglass, etc., is that they had not become drunk with the wine of the world. In other words, the goal of their rebellion was not money. The goal of their rebellion was not riches. The goal of their rebellion had nothing to do with a transactional encounter, if you will, with this nation called America. They weren't trying to get something from America. They were trying to get away from something in America.
Okay, let me ask you this. Let me ask you, because we don't plan, by the way. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Neither does Dr. Black until I see his face.
I know, it's so crazy.
But there's a lot of conversation about how do you exist, because I keep thinking about Harriet going back into bondage to get people out to come into freedom, and then coming back under the threat of her own self being captured, because she was under she would have been my goodness. Okay.
Absolutely.
What does that look like today? As we are, because I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the possibilities and the policies that are coming, because we did what we needed to do a couple of weeks ago. It did not pan out the way it should have for humanity's sake. Now it's just for us to imagine what the future should look like. What do we want to see happen? What world are we going to create from here? But what does that look like? And because we're not in bondage like that, but we could be. What does it look like?
I think in some ways we are in bondage like that, because I've been thinking about this in relationship to education and teachers. And I've been thinking about who are the teachers who would risk and who would dare the way Harriet did. In other words, all these states, Florida, but not just Florida, all over this nation, where you can't teach this, you can't teach that, all these books banned, right? For me, a Harriet teacher I'm going to teach what transforms. Now, if somebody gets mad at me and pissed off, they can have the job. They'll take. But see, that's the same thing Harriet was saying. But see, here's the catch. But if you get too tied into the economy of the atmosphere, if you get too tied and if you get your soul literally into transaction with America, such that your soul depends upon America's applause and America's check, it's going to be hard to be a revolutionary.
Okay. So I also think revolution requires planning. I don't know how long it took for Araminta to hatch the plan to leave, but I don't think she just got up one day, as they say Rosa did. Rosa didn't get on that bus without a plan. She had a plan when she got on that bus today and decided,
she wasn't just tired.
She wasn't just tired. There was a whole game plan and a machine behind her after she did that.
That's right. It's wrong of us to teach that like that too. That
Isn't
Rosa
it?
was tired and she just sat down. No.
Who did that?
Listen, I'm telling you, kids think that. And we teach it that way, that she was just she had worked all day and she was just so tired. That is so far from the truth. And also it actually ruins the intelligence of Black people and the intelligence of resistance. And we need that intelligence so people understand that, and not just her, Frederick Douglass, James Baldwin. You don't just come up with a novel.
Because you mad.
Right. No, 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 no. These are products of a thinking process.
And if you think about, there had to be something before Montgomery, there were several buses. So it was Rosa getting on the bus that day with a plan, also knowing that they were planning a bus boycott. So
That's
that
right.
was already in the works.
That's
It
right.
didn't just happen. There
Did
was a
not.
bus boycott in 53 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
That's right.
That
Tallahassee, Florida. Absolutely.
there we go. Come on. There were several. So there was
Yes.
also test trial balloons. Brown versus Board of Ed. Before Brown versus Board of Ed, there were so many other cases that led to that.
Absolutely.
Like we don't have to. We are petulant. We are impulsive. There's not a whole lot of planning because that muscle has been atrophied because the egg has been cracked. They
That's
cracked
right.
that egg on us, and we flew on out the damn egg, not realizing that we need to stay in there and peck a little bit more. But
Okay.
so now, what does it look like, right? To your point, a teacher is like, "Nah, I'm going to teach revolutionary, resistance and critical thinking, and I'm going to bring these books in
That's right.
with the notion that I'm going to get fired."
That's right.
But then
That's right.
what's the plan? What's the plan, teacher?
Yes. And then what a teacher's got to be very clear about is there's a church down on 54th and Main that is absolutely waiting on me to start a Saturday school class with the kids in this neighborhood. There you are. There you go. And start that before you even potentially get fired anyway. Because the point is, we've got to construct our own systems and our own institutions that educate our own people.
Right. And you got to start that Saturday class not thinking about getting paid
That's
because you
right.
may not get paid.
I'm a witness to this. Did you hear me? And I mean this is, I've been teaching for 30 years, and I don't mean at Clark. Listen to me, folks. I
Yes.
do not mean Clark, Atlanta. I've been teaching Saturday classes in Atlanta for more than 30 years. Sometimes it was 75 students, sometimes it was 5. But I've been doing it consistently. And now this is really true. For not one dime, but for a world of influence.
This is and I know this about you. I know this about Dr. Carr. Like, I don't really even want to be in alignment with people who their first question is, how much am I getting paid for this? And this is how I test and judge who's in this, who's really about the work. And the reward comes. Let me just say that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
866-801-8255. So I'm sitting in it. That was episode 5 from the Lioness. If y'all care to watch, season 2 is off the chain. But these moral questions, I feel like we don't ask ourselves enough. I feel like as a nation of people, of human beings globally, we don't ask ourselves enough. Are we sheep? Are we saints?
That's good.
Or are you pure evil? 866-801-8255. And actually, I want to play a clip because Erykah Badu had a riff on this a few months ago, and I don't know if we played this before, Smiz, but she had a riff on this that was going around on Instagram that I think is even more interesting as it relates to what we do artistically. Play the Erykah Badu clip.
There's a philosophy that says 85% of the people on the planet are followers. 10% of the people on the planet are creators or leaders. And 5% of the people are observers. So when you got 85% of the people who are willing to follow, the 10% who are able to create something are going to capitalize off of that, and the 5% are usually the ones who are assassinated or shunned or discredited because they can see everything that's going on. And they would ruin it all for the 10%. So the reason why it's so easy to do that is because people are willing to be led.
So she put the evil at 10%, in my estimation, broke out instead of the same 5% of the saints, and the saints being people who are going to turn over the tables.
Right.
And then 85% followers or sheep. I can't argue with it. I can't argue with it.
You can't. And the thing that's profound is if a person is not living intentionally, you're automatically a sheep. If a person is not clear that when you wake up in the morning, right, you wake up under a intentional contract with God about what you owe in exchange for that breath, you're a sheep.
I'm hearing a lot of, people thinking that they're free thinkers. I'm off the plantation. I'm a free thinker. I'm not on that plantation. I'm a free thinker, you know. And I laugh, but free thinkers having not read,
Woo!
studied, done anything in your life of any value, but you're a free. Can you, Dr. Black, be a free thinker minus the work?
Karen, not only can you not, but a free thinker, first of all, is redundant.
Say it.
If you're a thinker, you're free. Right. The second thing I told my class, I mean, we're in the spirit today in a way that's like really like blowing my mind. I was telling my class that this whole notion of being woke, this whole woke culture, the first problem that lets me know most people are not woke is because you wouldn't be woke, you'd be awake. Which means, and it seems simple, but it's not. First of all, your tense is wrong, which then means your intentionality is incorrect. You don't want to be woke because that happened yesterday. You want to be awake, which is a present state of mind. It's where you're walking right now in this moment. If you're woke, then you were asleep in the present.
I've been studying George Carlin, and he says the American dream. In order to follow the American dream, you have to be asleep.
Absolutely.
That's where dreams happen, right?
Absolutely.
We need to be awake. I don't even know, but I do know that there's one spirit that that you and I are aligned with. I know that.
Karen,
Much as I know my name.
It's the
This
crazy.
is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. We ain't talked today,
That's right.
but we've been talking.
My days are cooler, nights are warmer, and I put the blame on you. Time moves slow, but my heart beats faster. When these eyes are looking right at you, right at you. You give me something to believe in, just what I needed. You're the closest.